They say every man has a moment where everything clicks, where the puzzle pieces stop mocking you and finally snap into place. Mine came wrapped in a leather-scented car interior in the suspicious silence of a GPS signal gone dark. Now, let me paint you a picture. My name is Daniel Holloway. I'm a civil engineer, mid-40s, fan of dry coffee and drier humor. I married my college sweetheart, Elise, 20 years ago, 2 decades of laughter, houseplants, and increasingly passive-aggressive group texts from her book club. We had our routines, our rhythms, our shared calendar reminders. What we didn't have was, well, suspicion. Until last Friday. I got home early, half day from work, rare as a solar eclipse. I walked in with takeout and that smug, romantic grin you wear when you're about to surprise your wife with her favorite Thai curry. But the only thing that greeted me was silence. Her car was gone. No note, no text, just an abandoned sandal by the door and the faint smell of vanilla perfume. I waited. An hour. 2. Called her. Straight to voicemail. At first, I was worried. By hour 4, I was annoyed. By hour 6, I was checking our family tracking app. You know, the one she insisted we install, just in case. It showed her last location as private residence, unavailable. Right then, the first puzzle piece dropped. So what did I do? I did what any stubborn, slightly unhinged husband would do. I grabbed the spare keys to her car, because yes, she left them behind like a trail of breadcrumbs, and drove straight to her gym. No sign. Then her office. Locked and dark. I called her best friend, Claire, who claimed Elise was probably running errands, with the tone of someone trying to cover up a murder with a smile. But the kicker? That night, Elise came home, humming. She waltzed in around 10:23 p.m. in jeans I hadn't seen in 5 years and a glow that screamed post-vacation romance. She dropped her purse, kissed my cheek like a mailman she barely recognized, and said, "Long day, huh?" "Oh yeah," I replied. "You wouldn't believe the traffic." She didn't ask. She didn't care. I studied her from across the living room, and I realized something bone deep, something awful. The woman I'd built a life with had secrets. And me? I was finally ready to start asking the right questions. I'm not a detective. Never been one for drama or conspiracy. But when your wife starts humming pop songs you know she hates, wearing perfume that smells like a Sephora sample bag, and suddenly takes up evening yoga, your brain starts doing laps. So the next day, I played dumb. "Elise," I said over breakfast, watching her spread avocado like she was on a cooking show, "you were out pretty late last night. Everything all right?" She didn't flinch. That's when I knew. "Oh, you know, Susan's birthday," she said, sipping orange juice like it wasn't laced with lies. "Girls' night. We ended up at this wine bar. Total blast." "Susan. The same Susan who moved to Arizona 3 months ago." "Right," I nodded. "Tell her I said hi. Now I've always believed that if you're going to dig for truth, you better be ready for dirt." So that afternoon, I called in sick, parked my car down the block, and waited. Like I said, not a detective, but I watch movies. At 5:32 p.m., Elise left the house dressed like she was auditioning for a rom-com. Hair curled, heels clicking, confidence radiating off her like Wi-Fi. And instead of heading to yoga, she drove in the opposite direction. I followed. Slowly, carefully, like a man watching his own foundation crack, one tile at a time. She didn't go to a bar or a spa. She went to a house small, suburban, too nice to be innocent. Parked in the driveway like she owned it. Knocked once. The door opened. He answered. Tall, athletic, shirtless. And he kissed her. I didn't take pictures. Didn't need to. Some truths etch themselves straight into your spine. I sat there in the car for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. Then I drove home. No screaming. No confrontation. Just silence and a ticking kitchen clock that mocked me with every click. Because I had a decision to make. And I wasn't going to make it in anger. I was going to make it with precision. I didn't tell anyone. Not my brother, not my closest friend, not even Dave from accounting, and Dave once told me about the time he caught his wife sexting her chiropractor. I figured, if this was war, my first weapon needed to be silence. Because see, Elise thought I was still the man who'd fumble his keys and forget our anniversary. But what she didn't know is that I'd been quietly upgrading. While she was practicing downward dog at yoga, I was syncing her phone back up to a cloud she forgot I managed. Texts, calls, calendar invites, and then the real jackpot photos. Dozens of them. Different outfits, same man. Always cropped at the neck like that would somehow keep the truth from breathing. His name, according to one of her lazily saved contact labels, was E. Just E. And that's when I knew. I wasn't dealing with a casual slip-up. This was coordinated. Planned. He had been around for a while, long enough to have a nickname, short enough that I hadn't sniffed it out until now. So what did I do? I made her lunch. I started leaving love notes again, little sticky messages that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight," and "thinking of you." I brought her coffee in bed, rubbed her shoulders when she said she was tired. It wasn't forgiveness. It was data collection. And each time she smiled and thanked me, I saw it. That flicker of guilt behind her eyes. Not enough to confess, but enough to let me know she knew. I tracked her schedule, matched her movements, set up a burner phone with a new number and sent E a message. "We need to talk." "She's lying to you too." He didn't reply. Not right away. But a few days later, he did. "Who is this?" "Let's just say, I'm someone with skin in the game. You're not the only one she's playing." I attached a screenshot of Elise's call log where she had called both of us on the same night, 30 minutes apart. No reply. But I knew that silence well. It meant he was rechecking everything he believed, which meant it was time to move the pieces forward. Because I wasn't just going to catch Elise. I was going to expose her from both sides. Elise had this way of humming when she cooked. A soft little rhythm that, in our early years, made me fall in love with her. These days, it made my skin crawl. She was sautéing something chicken, maybe wearing a smile like nothing was wrong, as if her double life wasn't unspooling in real time. I watched her from across the kitchen island, pretending to be fascinated by my phone. In reality, I was monitoring the new email address I'd set up, one specifically for E. At 7:46 p.m., the reply finally came. "What do you want?" 3 words, all teeth. No punctuation. Just raw suspicion and a dash of ego. I respected it. I typed back. "Meet me. Starbucks on Eastview. Noon. Tomorrow." He didn't respond, but I knew he'd show. Guys like E smug, sun-kissed, cocky types who mistake six-pack abs for character never turned down the chance to flex control. And I was going to let him think he had it. "Dinner's ready." Elise sang out, plating something on white porcelain like we were on the cover of a home design magazine. I set my phone face down, forcing a smile. "Smells great. You always know how to keep things spicy." She winked. "Only for you." I nearly choked on my own restraint. The next day, I wore my nicest button-up. Not because I wanted to impress E, but because power plays work better in a crisp collar. The Starbucks was half full, students on laptops, retirees playing chess, a barista with too much piercings and not enough interest in customer service. He walked in like he owned the building. Tall, clean-shaven, and wearing a leather jacket in 72-degree weather. He spotted me immediately, eyes narrowing just enough to confirm he'd already guessed who I was. He slid into the chair across from me, no drink in hand. "So," he said, folding his arms, "you're the husband." I nodded. "And you're the reason my wife smells like cedarwood cologne half the week." He didn't flinch. I'll give him that. "Let's skip the melodrama," he said. "Why are we here?" I leaned in. "Because Elise lied to you too. And I figured you deserved to know who you're being played by." "She told me you were separated," he said slowly. "She told me she was going to book club." His jaw clenched. Good. That was the first crack. I slid a small manila envelope across the table. Inside, time-stamped photos, printed text messages, and screenshots of overlapping call logs. Nothing illegal. Just uncomfortable truth. He opened it, skimmed the contents. I watched his shoulders rise and fall like he was mentally slapping himself. After a full minute, he exhaled. "Why give me this?" he asked, looking up. "Why not go nuclear? Burn her down all on your own?" I gave a half-smile. "Because you deserve to know you're not her plan A. Or even her plan B." "What do you want?" "Nothing. Not from you." He leaned back, scanning me like I was a complicated puzzle with no corner pieces. "You're not mad at me?" "Oh, I'm furious. But I'm not irrational. You didn't make vows to me." He chuckled, dry, sarcastic. "You're a weird guy, Dan." "I'm a patient guy." I stood up and offered my hand. He shook it, reluctantly. "You going to keep seeing her?" I asked, grabbing my coat. He looked down at the envelope. "Not likely." "Good," I said, stepping away. "I'd hate to find out you're as dumb as you were pretty." That night, Elise came home late. Again. "Oh, traffic," she offered casually, dropping her bag by the door. "And my phone died. Can you believe it?" I looked up from the couch. Wild. She didn't notice the edge in my voice. Or if she did, she chalked it up to me being moody. Elise had gotten too comfortable underestimating me. Want some wine? She asked, already halfway to the kitchen. Nah, I replied. I'm keeping a clear head these days. She paused, glass in hand. Everything okay? Couldn't be better, I said, smiling thinly. I let her sit beside me on the couch and rest her head on my shoulder. She sighed, content. Like the life she was wrecking wasn't also mine. And while she scrolled through Netflix options, I was crafting my exit strategy. I wasn't going to scream or sob or throw dishes. That's what people like Elise expected from the wrong spouse. No, I was going to orchestrate something quieter, calculated, surgical. I'd already started moving certain funds into a private account. Quiet withdrawals. No red flags. I spoke with a lawyer 3 days ago, used my lunch break to sign the papers. Irreconcilable differences. No kids, no dogs, no need for dramatic custody battles. But I wasn't done yet. See, Elise had this work gala coming up. A big, pretentious thing. Donors. Bosses. People who thought she was the most put-together woman in the room. And I had an invitation. She didn't know I knew about her affair. She didn't know I knew about the raise she'd lied about. She didn't even know I was invited to that gala as a +1 of one of the vendors. So I planned to walk in, head held high, holding hands with her lies in printed form. Not to humiliate her, but to remind her that I wasn't some clueless accessory to her double life. I wanted her to feel the cold clarity I'd been soaking in for weeks. I wanted her to know she didn't get away with anything. Not really. The night of the gala arrived, glossy and insufferable. One of those evenings where everyone dresses like royalty and talks like podcasts. Elise had been talking about this event for weeks, practically floating when the invitation arrived, telling me over dinner how much this night would mean for her career. She had no clue I'd be there too. She left the house in a floor-length navy gown that hugged all the wrong truths. A diamond necklace glittered on her collarbone, a gift from me back when I still believed she was incapable of betrayal. She paused in the doorway, checking her hair one last time in the mirror. I might be late, she said. There's a private after-party. Just donors and board members. Strict guest list. I gave her a warm smile. Enjoy it. Knock, I'm dead. And just like that, she was gone. I waited 5 minutes, grabbed my suit, and headed out the back door. The gala was held at the Fairmont Grand, a ridiculous place where valet drivers wore gloves and chandeliers outnumbered exits. I walked in on the arm of Andrea Marks, an old college friend and the owner of the floral company hired for the event. Andrea, God bless her, had always had a flair for mischief and a hatred for liars. You sure you want to do this? She asked as we stepped through the marble foyer, hand in hand. Oh, I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm just showing up. She laughed, sharp and bright. You're dangerous, Daniel. I smiled, eyes already scanning the crowd. Let's hope she remembers that. Elise was near the center of the room, surrounded by laughter and praise. The kind of attention that feeds egos like gasoline on a bonfire. She hadn't seen me yet. Not until Andrea and I strolled past the hors d'oeuvres table like we owned the place. When her eyes found me, it was like watching a fire alarm go off in slow motion. She froze. Smile faltered. Wine glass tilted slightly in her hand. I saw her lips move, before she turned to someone beside her, trying to maintain composure. Andrea leaned close. $10 she pretends she's thrilled. 20 says she brings up traffic in the first 2 minutes. Elise approached with a smile that could slice diamonds. Daniel. Wow, I didn't know you'd be here. Last-minute invite, I said, sipping my champagne. Lucky break. Her eyes flicked to Andrea. And who's this? Andrea Marks, Andrea said sweetly, offering her hand. Owner of Bloom and Vine. We did the centerpieces tonight. Elise's smile twitched. Oh, how lovely. I raised my glass. They're exquisite. Truly. She was cornered, and she knew it. Can I borrow my husband for a moment? She said, eyes narrowing just enough to signal it wasn't a question. Andrea winked at me and faded into the crowd. Elise pulled me aside into a hallway near the coat check. Her voice dropped an octave. What the hell are you doing here? I looked at her, calm and composed. Enjoying the evening. Supporting the foundation. You're not supposed to be here, Daniel. You told me you weren't coming. You also told me you were going to yoga, I replied, deadpan. We all lie, Elise. She flinched like I'd slapped her. This isn't the time. No, but it is the place. I reached into my jacket and handed her a small envelope, thin, elegant, familiar. Her own monogram on the front. She opened it. Inside were printouts, texts, call logs, photos. Nothing explicit, just enough to scorch the edges of her reality. She stared at them, lips parted. You've been spying on me. No, Elise, I said quietly. I've been waking up. Her face twisted. What are you trying to do? Humiliate me? Ruin me? I stepped closer. No, that would be easy. I want you to know I'm not the fool you thought I was. I saw everything, and I still walked in here with my dignity. She backed away, clutching the envelope like it burned. What now? She asked. You want to air this out in front of everyone? No, I said. You'll do that yourself. Because I'm not saying a word. But when he doesn't text back, when you find out your job's on thin ice because someone slipped a packet of evidence to HR about misuse of company time and inappropriate relationships, when you come home and the house is missing my name on the deed, you'll know this was never about revenge. She looked pale, unsteady. Then what was it about? Respect, I said. Mine. I walked away before she could answer. Andrea and I left the gala just after the dinner speeches started. She didn't ask what had happened in that hallway. She didn't need to. Back at my car, she touched my arm. You okay? I nodded. Eventually. You ever think about burning the whole thing down? All the time, I said with a dry laugh. But this was better. Watching the fire catch from the inside out. Andrea smiled. Let me know when the ashes settle. I'll bring wine. I watched her drive off before climbing into my own car. The night air was cold, crisp, and clean. Perfect for starting over. The silence that followed the gala was almost disappointing. No angry texts. No teary voicemails. Just quiet. As if Elise had entered some kind of crisis lockdown mode, calculating every move like a chess master who just realized her king was exposed. I didn't push. That wasn't the plan. Instead, I got to work. You don't spend 20 years building a life with someone without leaving your fingerprints on everything: bank accounts, insurance policies, passwords they thought were private. Elise had always called me boring when I insisted on managing our finances myself. Funny how useful boring becomes when you're reorganizing a life. I moved my name off the joint accounts, opened a new one under a different bank, funneled my paychecks away from her reach. I transferred utilities into my name where I could. The ones I couldn't, I scheduled to terminate. One by one, I took my name off the house, off the credit cards, off the lease of her little hidden post office box I found in her gym bag. Yes, Elise. I found the box. And all the handwritten letters for me, stashed like love notes in a bad romance novel. Dramatic. Predictable. On Tuesday, I received a message from my lawyer. She's been served. 3 words. Perfect symmetry. I sat in my car outside the office, staring at the notification like it was the end of a marathon. Or maybe the starting pistol for something new. She came home that evening in a storm. Not the loud kind. The cold one. The kind where the air shifts the moment she opens the door. I got the papers, she said, tossing her purse on the kitchen counter like it owed her money. I know, I said without looking up from the book in my hands. You're really doing this? I closed the book slowly. You were expecting flowers? She folded her arms, the envelope still in her hand. You didn't even talk to me about this. I looked her dead in the eye. You didn't talk to me about him. Her jaw clenched. She stood there for a long moment, like she was waiting for me to blink first. I didn't. Elise, I said, this isn't revenge. It's release. For both of us. You blindsided me, she muttered. In front of everyone. You mean the people you told we were separated? The same people you assured you were handling it? Elise, I'm just finally agreeing with your version of reality. She set the papers down gently, like they were fragile. 20 years, she whispered. You're just going to throw that away. No, I said. I'm preserving it. Why not letting the last chapter be a lie? She didn't cry. She didn't beg. Maybe she was too proud. Or maybe, deep down, she knew this was always coming. Some debts demand to be paid. She left the kitchen without another word. The next morning, she was gone by sunrise. I walked into the garage to find her car missing. Half her closet cleaned out. The safe, once home to our passports and a small stack of old anniversary cards, was open and empty. I stood there, alone, in the quiet hum of a life changing. And for the first time in months, I exhaled. Weeks passed. The legal proceedings began. Not contested. Elise didn't want to fight. She wanted out. Fine by me. The property was split cleanly. She took the car. I kept the house. Neither of us wanted the furniture. It all felt like sitting in someone else's skin. I saw you once more. At a gas station, of all places. He didn't recognize me at first. He had a new haircut, new sunglasses. Probably thought it made him invisible. But when our eyes met, he gave a stiff nod. Not a greeting. An acknowledgement. I nodded back. It wasn't camaraderie. It was closure. I spent my first weekend as a free man tearing down the pergola in the backyard. Elise always wanted that pergola. Said it gave the yard structure. I hated the thing. It blocked the sun and housed more wasps than guests. I ripped it down plank by plank, relishing the sound of splintering wood. Call it therapy. Call it symbolic. Either way, it felt right. Midway through, my neighbor Mike wandered over, beer in hand. Big changes, huh? Yep, I said, tossing another board into the pile. Need a hand? I looked at him, sweat on my brow, and smiled. Sure. Let's wreck it properly. It took 2 hours, a playlist full of 80s rock, and one bruised thumb, but by sunset, the pergola was gone. Looks better already, Mike said, dusting off his jeans. Feels better too, I replied, cracking open a beer. We sat on the porch, watching the light fade. Two middle-aged guys sharing silence, and maybe something like hope. You okay? He asked. I thought for a second. Getting there. You know, if you ever want to hit the lake this summer, fish, drink, whatever, just say the word. I appreciate it, Mike. I really do. He nodded. You're a good man, Dan. Don't let this stuff tell you otherwise. I raised my beer. To new chapters. He clinked his bottle against mine. To peace. We sat in the dusk, no words needed. And somewhere deep in my chest, something finally let go. I thought after the divorce papers were served, things would get quiet. Peaceful even. You know, empty fridge, full remote control, and no more wine glasses appearing in the dishwasher I never used. But peace doesn't come all at once. It arrives in fragments. Little pieces. And sometimes it brings company. It was a Tuesday when Elise showed up again. I was mid-laundry, folding socks in the living room, when I heard the knock. Soft. Hesitant. Like she wasn't sure if she was knocking or tapping out Morse code for, please don't yell. When I opened the door, there she stood, same perfume, different posture. Hi, she said, hugging herself. Elise. She looked past me, like the walls were familiar but the air had shifted. Can I come in? I stepped aside. It's your past. You're welcome to visit it. She sat on the edge of the couch like it might bite her. I wanted to. I don't know, talk. Clear the air maybe. I stayed standing. She sighed. Look, I've been doing some thinking. A lot of thinking. About what happened. About us. I folded my arms. That's new. Her eyes darted to the floor. I was selfish. I know that now. And I didn't come here to beg. Or to undo what's already done. I just wanted you to hear me say, I'm sorry. It hung in the air like smoke. I see, I said. That night at the gala, she added, you looked right through me. Like I was a stranger. You were. She nodded, almost grateful for the punch. I didn't come here expecting forgiveness, she continued. But I had to say it. For myself. For whatever's left. I sat in the chair across from her, the armchair I used to avoid because she called it the grandpa seat. It had become my throne since the papers. What happened, Elise? I asked. We used to laugh. We used to fight about dumb things like throw pillows and Spotify playlists. When did we stop being a we? She swallowed. Around the time I started looking for attention instead of connection. There it was. The ugly truth with a bow on top. I kept telling myself you were distant, she said. Too busy. Too calm. Too comfortable. I raised an eyebrow. Comfortable? Yeah. You weren't chasing anymore. You weren't proving anything. I smirked. I thought marriage was about finally not having to. She flinched. I know. That's what I mean. You were steady, and I went looking for chaos. She paused. And I found it. Is he still around? I asked. She shook her head. No. Turns out people who lie with you also lie to you. I didn't gloat. Not because I didn't want to, but because that wasn't the point anymore. Why tell me this now? Because you were kind, even when I didn't deserve it. And because I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm asking you to let me go. I stood, walked to the kitchen, and poured her a glass of water. She took it, hands trembling. You're already gone, Elise. The minute you stopped choosing me, you walked out. This, I gestured around us, is just the echo of that choice. She looked down. Thank you. For listening. I didn't listen for you, I said. I listened for me. She smiled faintly. You're still a good man, Dan. Yeah, I said. And now I remember that too. She left not long after. No tears. No drama. Just a quiet door clicked behind her. I stood in the hallway, staring at the spot she used to leave her shoes. That tiny, cluttered chaos I once hated. Funny how you miss the mess once it's gone. But I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel hollow. I felt done. The next morning, I drove out to the lake. Mike met me there with a thermos of bad coffee and a tackle box older than my marriage. "Let me guess," he said, handing me a fishing rod. "She showed up." "She did." He whistled. And nothing. She apologized. I accepted it. "Doesn't change anything." "Damn right it doesn't," he said. "But good on you for hearing her out." We cast lines into still water, the kind of silence only two men with shared scars can hold. After a while, he said, "What now?" "Now," I said, reeling in slowly. "I live." "Big plans?" I smirked. "Yeah, I'm gonna repaint the office. Rip up that rug she always liked. Maybe adopt a dog." Mike nodded. "Solid revenge." "It's not revenge," I said, casting again. "It's reclamation." He grinned. "Dan's Declaration of Independence." I laughed, genuinely, for the first time in months. The sun was rising. The fish weren't biting. And I didn't care. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't surviving someone else's story. I was writing my own. When you hit rock bottom, people always assume you'll come crawling back to what broke you. But I'd tasted the clean slate, and I wasn't about to start eating dust again. A month passed since Elise walked out for good. In that time, I reprogrammed my life the way an engineer would systematically. Her framed degrees came down from the hallway wall. The kitchen got new paint. I bought a recliner. Not a fancy one, just one that didn't come with memories. The dining room table, once reserved for candlelit meals and passive-aggressive dinner standoffs, now hosted woodworking plans and coffee-stained notebooks. I even joined a Saturday morning community class on beginner carpentry. The instructor called it wood therapy. One of the women in class, Maria, always showed up late, always cracking jokes. One day she looked at my crooked birdhouse and said, "Looks like it was built during a storm." "Fitting," I replied. So was I. We started meeting for coffee after class. Nothing romantic. Just two people carrying scars and paper cups. "I got cheated on too," she told me once, stirring her tea with precision. "Found a lipstick mark on a camping trip. In a tent. In July." "Brutal," I said. "Bet yours had layers. Like a cake made of lies." We laughed. It was good. Simple. Honest. Maria had a way of speaking that made you forget to look at your watch. Not once did she ask about Elise. And not once did I feel the urge to talk about her. Which told me more than any therapy session could. One rainy Thursday, an envelope showed up in the mailbox. No return address, just my name in handwriting that once filled birthday cards and grocery lists. It was from Elise. Inside was a letter. Not an apology, those were spent. It was a confession. A page and a half of raw, messy honesty. She admitted to more than just E. There had been another, briefly. Then a dry spell. Then E. She detailed her spiral like it was a resume of regret. The last paragraph stood out. "I know you never needed revenge, but I think you deserve justice. And if you're reading this, I hope you found peace. I hope you're building something better than what I burned." I folded the letter, stuck it back in the envelope, and placed it in the drawer with my old tax records. Not because it was precious, because it was finished. That night, I wrote a letter too. To myself. A list of things I'd let go. Regret. Resentment. The belief that I wasn't enough. I burned it in the fireplace. The paper curled in on itself like it was nodding in agreement. Here's the part one didn't see coming. You didn't just disappear. Turns out, karma works off the clock too. A year after the divorce, I got a call from a mutual friend. He had been hospitalized. Someone found him badly beaten outside a bar downtown. Rumor was, it wasn't random. Someone had followed him out. Someone who had been lied to, used, maybe discarded. Just like I was. Only, this guy didn't write letters. He left reminders. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt nothing. Just confirmation. He lived like a firecracker, short fuse, loud bang. Nothing but smoke. Later that week, I got a visit from a detective. Routine questioning. Apparently, he had named a few people he might have upset, and my name made the list. "Mr. Holloway," the detective asked, "any reason someone would think you'd want to hurt him?" I smiled. Sure. But I didn't. I built a bookshelf that day. Cut some pine. Sanded the edges. Might have given myself a splinter. He chuckled. "Funny. But you didn't leave town that day?" "No, sir. I left something else." He gave me a nod and closed his notebook. "Sounds like you found a better way." I had.